Good evening, everyone. Could we get the slide with the agenda on it? Is that possible? I'd like to welcome everyone on behalf of the board and members of the Greater Washington, D.C. chapter of the United States Naval Academy Alumni Association. Welcome to our fall candidate event. Could we go to the next slide, please? This evening, you will be exposed to the admissions process for the Naval Academy. We'll kick off the evening with a quick overview of this wonderful Navy memorial that we are able to host this event in this evening. We'll have an introduction from the president of the Greater Washington, D.C. chapter, as well as Admiral Nowell, who's the president and CEO of the Navy Memorial. We're going to have a presentation by the admissions office. This is from a recent graduate and commissioned officer. Ensign Weiss will give this presentation for us. This is a great overview. You can find more information online, and the admissions office will also be in the lobby as you exit if you have questions. We have Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Featherstone with us this evening, who will provide some insights on the nomination board process. And he is specifically on the Washington, D.C. board, so if you have questions, Ralph will be here as well. And then we will have a presentation by our blue and gold officer team. Steve Williams is here this evening, and we are joined by a couple of other blue and gold officers as well. You'll note them, they have the real name tags, so you can ask them questions on your way out. So thank you for joining us this evening. At this time, we are going to turn it over to a quick video from the Navy Memorial, and then I will pass the microphone to Captain Anthony Calandra to do the official welcome. Thank you for joining us.
It's a special place. It's such a beautiful place to come to.
As the United States Navy Memorial enters an exciting and empowering new chapter, our core mission remains steadfast: to honor, recognize, and celebrate the men and women of the sea services, past, present, and future, and to inform the public about their service. After months of major renovations, the Visitor Center reopened to the public, showcasing new exhibits, more opportunities to connect, and an unparalleled visual experience in the impressively upgraded Arlie and Roberta Burke Theater.
Our theater is home to Washington, D.C.'s first LED wall, spanning an impressive 17 feet by 34 feet, and includes 9,123,840 pixels. This allows us to include programs such as movie screenings, presentations, live streaming, and many more.
Reaching members of the military community around the country and the globe, Navy Memorial Digital Productions continued to live stream milestones in our shared experience.
Charge the fountains of the United States Navy Memorial.
And to mark important moments in our history with wreath layings on the plaza.
It's a great honor to represent the Navy today at this solemn commemoration.
Remembering and honoring the brave men and women who felt the call to serve, whose valiant actions saved lives, and who made the ultimate sacrifice.
The memory of that fateful day in December of 1941 is one drenched in blood, sweat, and tears of our shipmates.
A collective memory of events, both world-changing and personal, can be found in the Navy Log Room, the nation's largest publicly available archive of sea service personnel.
The Navy Log is so important because it gives sea service personnel the opportunity to tell their story.
More than 150 veteran groups shared their stories with friends old and new at the Navy Memorial this year. Networking opportunities continued through the Fantail Breakfast Series, including a special edition with the Chief of Naval Operations. The Granite Sea also saw afternoons and evenings filled with family-friendly fun. From concerts on the Avenue, to movie screenings, and pinning ceremonies, the Navy Memorial Plaza is truly a place to gather together in community.
It's super important to have the help of both sponsors and individual donors. It truly helps us to make our mission a reality.
This is a way for companies to give back, and I'm just really proud of US Money Reserve for being one of those companies that have stepped up. This is basically a match made in heaven.
The SITREP Speaker Series continues to give Navy leadership a platform to address issues top of mind for many Americans.
Everybody's got the same opportunity for success when they join the Navy.
The 2023 Lone Sailor Awards honored 3 extraordinary individuals at a dinner in Washington, D.C., while the 19th Lone Sailor statue was unveiled in Quincy, Massachusetts.
What I want my sailors to take away from me is that everyone on board matters, and we owe it to each other to do our best for each other.
We celebrated the 2022-2023 Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy Delbert D. Black Leadership Award recipient, Master Chief Michael McKelly, with a dinner in his honor. An interactive exhibit in the Delbert D. Black National Chiefs Mess lets visitors learn about the 18 amazing men and women chosen as the 2022 Sailors of the Year. To celebrate the Navy Chief's 131st birthday, we continue the tradition of hosting the party in the Chiefs Mess and use the happy gathering to announce the launch of an exciting new online portal designed on the principle, once a chief, always a chief.
We wanted the Delbert D. Black National Chiefs Mess to be not just a physical place you had to come to DC to see and experience, but also a place every CPO could virtually hang their cover and coffee cup. We're inviting every chief who has ever worn anchors on their collar to join.
While the Navy Memorial's mission is unwavering, a new generation will be at the helm.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be just a small part of our United States Navy Memorial. Thank you very much.
After more than 8 years, Rear Admiral Frank Thorpe stepped down as President and CEO. 38-year Navy veteran Vice Admiral John Nowell Jr., United States Navy retired, assuming command.
This place, our Navy Memorial, is a pretty special place to be.
Thank you. We wanted to take an opportunity to make sure that you knew the hallowed ground that you're in this evening. So at this time, I'll turn the microphone over to Captain Anthony Calandra, who's the president of the Greater Washington, D.C. chapter of the Alumni Association.
Thanks, Kate. Hey, how about just Kate put this whole thing together for us, so how about a round of applause? Thanks, Kate. Really appreciate it. So I just want to start out with a brief description of the chapter. So the Naval Academy Alumni Association represents anybody who's ever stepped foot into a Naval Academy classroom. It's the way it's organized is there's a national branch or a national entity in Annapolis, and then there's chapters across the world. We are the Greater Washington chapter, and our area includes Washington, D.C. proper, and those parts of Maryland and Virginia that are adjacent to our nation's capital. Our mission is to support our alumni and to support the Naval Academy, the Naval Academy's mission, and to support you, who are students who are interested in attending the Naval Academy. What I really want to do is stand up here and tell sea stories, but I'm absolutely not allowed to do that tonight. I've been told that I have to keep this very short, so I just want to introduce our host, Vice Admiral John B. Nowell Jr., U.S. Navy retired. He's a 1984 distinguished graduate of the United States Naval Academy, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Ocean Engineering. He also holds a Master of Science in Weapons Systems Engineering from the Navy Postgraduate School. That's a pretty interesting degree, I'll say. I'm not going to mention every command that he's ever served in his 38 years of decorated naval service. I'm just going to hit some of the highlights and some of the stuff that I think is really cool. He graduated and became a surface warfare officer, or what we call SWO in the Navy. He served aboard 3 different guided missile destroyers, the USS Callahan, USS Arleigh Burke, and the USS The Sullivans. He took a break from destroyers to do a tour on the guided missile cruiser Bunker Hill before commanding USS Porter DDG-78. He went on to command Destroyer Squadron 60, He served as the Maritime Force Commander, Combined Task Force Bravo for Joint Task Force Lebanon. That's a mouthful. Commander Task Force West and Central Africa, CTF 365. Commander of the inaugural African Partnership Station deployment, and he was commander of the Boham Richard Expeditionary Strike Group. So that's a group of ships that support a big deck U.S. carrier, in this case, the amphibious carrier Boham Richard. He had many staff duties as a flag officer, which culminated in him being the 59th Chief of Naval Personnel. His awards include 2 Distinguished Service Medals, 6 Legion of Merit Awards, a Bronze Star, and various other personal, unit, and campaign awards. Every ship he was assigned to won the Battle Efficiency Award. What that is that's the best ship in the class that year for that coast. That's quite an achievement. And his destroyer, USS Porter, also won the Anti-Submarine Warfare Award, the Bloodhound Award. We have something similar in naval aviation, but I'm not allowed to go into that. Vice Admiral Nowell became the President and CEO of the U.S. Navy Memorial in June of 2024. Please give a warm round of applause to our host.
Hey, so one, thank you. One, thanks for being here. It doesn't seem that long ago that I was in many of your shoes. I will tell you that this is an unparalleled opportunity to hear folks from the Academy, Blue and Gold, the Alumni Association, to talk to folks. So please stay as long as you want. I have the keys because there'll be networking that goes on after the program that I think that you'll get a lot out of. But what a leg up as a young man from Western North Carolina, right around where the floods were. I'd never seen the Naval Academy, never been on a plane. The good news story is that 42 years later, it turned out to have been a pretty good choice for me. And I think it will be for many of you, but it will be something that as you go into it, eyes wide open, this is a chance for you to learn, to ask questions, and really to see if you think that it's a good fit. But boy, for me and for my family, as you heard a little bit about what we did, but we lived all around the world. We were stationed both East Coast and West Coast, twice in Naples, Italy, twice in Japan, and some really exciting things. Whether it was flying into Beirut when the Israelis went into Lebanon as part of that joint task force fighting pirates, if you can believe that, down off the coast of Africa, off a Coast Guard cutter launching Tomahawks into Iraq, or being off the coast of Korea as Kim Jong-un was launching ballistic missiles over my head in Strike Group Command. And it was an incredible adventure, and I never imagined when I started just exactly the breadth and scope of what that would be. So I'm envious of all of you as you look at what comes next for you, and I think it's just very, very exciting. I'm happy that you're here at the Navy Memorial because this place is all about people, right? Our job is to honor, recognize, and celebrate the men and women who have served. You saw some of that in the video. Are serving, you saw that as well, and who will serve. And that's you, and to inform the public about that. And so we're working really, really hard to do that. And so I would ask you, as you're leaving, scan one of the QR codes, and not as much, we'd love for you to donate, but more so we'd like for you to take a look at what programming we have coming up, because if you're here in the summers every Tuesday, we do a concert on the Avenue with the Navy Band. You saw that. It's just plain fun, right? We had Mick Pond here for a sit rep with me about 3 weeks ago. We'll have Admiral Caudle, Commander of Fleet Forces Command, in December. And then especially for this group, mark on your calendars the 11th and 12th of December. We're going to have Navy Recruiting Command bring back the latest in technology for recruiting exhibits. They call it the Strike Group, and it's virtual reality. And we soft rolled it out here about a month ago. They'll bring it back for Army-Navy Week, and it gives you a chance to, in a VR environment, to fly aboard a carrier. You do it with a 6-person team. You have different missions. I was the aircraft handler on deck. My wife was a helicopter pilot. I think she crashed though. She probably could have talked to you. But when you complete that mission, then you can work your way around the other exhibits, and you can fly an F-35. You can do a deep sea dive and salvage mission. You can drive a special warfare combatant craft. You can look at what SEALs do and experience a little bit of that, some mission planning. And then my favorite is you can answer about 6 questions. It takes a picture of you, whether you're mom, dad, or a potential midshipman, and it says, hey, you would love being, for me, it was, you would love, and they're enlisted ratings that they show you'd love being a SEAL, a special warfare combatant craft operator, or a master at arms. And then it superimposes your face on that uniform. It's pretty cool, but it really gives you a sense, as did some of the faces of the fleet that you saw as you were sitting in here before, of what it's like and what some of the opportunities are in the Navy. So again, welcome to the Navy Memorial. Good luck on your journey, and certainly you're welcome back here anytime. If you get back, please do ask for me, and I promise you I have plenty of sea stories that I would love to go ahead and talk to you about. But again, welcome.
Thank you very much, Admiral. And so we go from one of the highest ranks in the officer corps to the starting point. So Ensign Maya Weiss has given us this admissions brief in the past, and she does a really great job. We'd like to tee up the admissions brief at this point. Thank you so much. And I will pass the mic to Ensign Weiss.
Good evening, everyone. How are we doing tonight? Good. Thank you for being here, and thank you to the Greater Washington, D.C. chapter for having us. My name is Ensign Maya Weiss. I'm a 2023 graduate of the Naval Academy. I currently serve as an admissions counselor, one of your admissions counselors, so I cover D.C., Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. Myself, Second Lieutenant Sabrina Sokol, is in the back. She's also one of your admissions counselors. But I'm going to go over a shortened admissions brief for you all tonight. I really encourage you to, if you have questions, write them down, and we will be in the back and we'll be outside after the program is over. But we're going to cover a lot of information, so make sure you write down those questions. All right, go this side. Okay, so the first thing to know about the Navy, the Naval Academy, the military at large really is that there is a lot of lingo. So the Yard is the name for our campus. We are located in Annapolis, Maryland, just about 25 miles away from here in Baltimore. So a really, really wonderful city itself. It's a sailing capital of the United States. So it's always have really wonderful cultural events, and you get to explore great cities like DC and like Baltimore, which I know you guys are from here, so you have that experience of seeing how wonderful this city is. But what we offer on campus is pretty much anything you could want. So this is kind of a list of things we offer. But you could show up on day one, induction day, that's the first day you show up at the Naval Academy, with just the clothes on your back. You never have to leave. Wouldn't recommend it, because again, great things to explore outside, but we have everything you could want. So we've got a barbershop, armory, our midshipman store, you can get your snacks, clothes, pens, pencils, textbooks, that type of thing. I'm not going to read it for you, but we have all those things. We also have our medical, dental, and optometry right there in Bancroft Hall. So Bancroft Hall is our dormitory, and so all of our students can walk right down the hall and have those medical services accessible to them. Additionally, we have our Midshipman Development Center. Our Midshipman Development Center is focused on mental and psychological resiliency services. So they have things like one-on-one counseling, they have sports psychologists, they have trauma specialists, disordered eating specialists, so really wonderful availability to our students, to our midshipmen. And again, that's located right in Bancroft Hall, so all of our students just walk right down the hall and have those accessible to them. In addition, we have 22 world-class athletic facilities located right on campus. You don't have to be a varsity athlete to use these. You don't have to be training for a certain event. This is available to all of our students at the Naval Academy. Next slide, please. So something we like to say is it's not about the next 4 years, it's about the next 40 years. So your time at the Naval Academy, it's going to be tough, it's going to challenge you, but we hope and we know it will prepare you for your time in the fleet, so in the Navy and the Marine Corps, and beyond once you enter the civilian workforce. So these are a few of the stats that we've earned. Some things I like to highlight are engineering programs, very top-notch. Even though we're a public school, we are really up there with all of our engineering programs, consistently ranked very high. Next slide, please. So a bit more lingo for you. A midshipman is a student at the Naval Academy, and the Brigade of Midshipmen is our student body. So we are composed of students from all 50 states, U.S. territories, and we do have students coming from foreign countries to study at the Naval Academy for 4 years. So they come to the Naval Academy, they get their degree, they commission as an officer in their home Navy, so that when they are finished, they go back to that country and they serve in their home Navy. We also have prior enlisted sailors and Marines in the brigade. So these are enlisted service members that have come to the Naval Academy to pursue a degree and a commission as an officer. We hover around 4,500 students every year. We have 30% female population, with that number on an upward trajectory. Next slide, please. Now moving on to academics, we have 26 available majors at the Naval Academy. We split them into 3 different schools. So we have our School of Engineering, we have our School of Math and Science, and School of Humanities and Social Sciences. We also have several different minors available. I'll note that to achieve a minor, it is 6 semesters in that language. And for all of our humanities and social science majors, they are required to take at least 4 semesters of a language. So many end up pursuing an additional 2 semesters to get that minor. We are congressionally mandated to have at least 65% of every class participating in a STEM major. So these first 2 columns you see here on the left. That's just based on who we want to produce. We want to produce obviously I'm on the STEM side, not the English side. We want to produce officers that are capable of producing STEM, to being capable in that STEM background. Next slide, please. Now this is our core curriculum. So this is required for all of our students regardless of their major. Before we get to the classes, if you look at the top with those numbers, those are our class years. So a 4th class is a freshman, known as a plebe. A 3rd class is a sophomore, known as a youngster. A 2nd class is a junior, and a 1st class is a senior, known as a firstie. Now looking top to bottom, the blue courses are our professional development courses, so things like seamanship, navigation, and a lot of leadership courses. I'll skip to the bottom. The bottom are our green humanities and social science courses, and then that big chunk of classes you see in the middle are our STEM courses. So again, we're a very STEM-heavy school. Now because of all the STEM courses that our students are required to take, everyone will graduate with a Bachelor of Science. So you could be an English major, you could be an aerospace engineering major, anything in between, you will get a Bachelor of Science after graduating from the Naval Academy. And you can see you're taking 3 semesters of calculus, physics, chemistry, electrical engineering, so you're really earning that Bachelor of Science. Now as a freshman, you're taking these core courses, and then in the spring, around spring break of your freshman year is when you will declare your major. So you'll begin taking those in your 3rd class fall, and that will populate in these blank spots you see here in the matrix. Next slide, please. So this is something I really liked about my time at the Naval Academy is our small college classroom and our class size. I think my biggest class at the Naval Academy was probably 17 people. So you really get to know, first of all, the students around you. You're able to help each other, get through that course, study for it, get ready for exams. But you also get to know your instructors. So they get to know how you learn best and help you prepare and succeed for that course. At the Naval Academy, we only have full-time faculty, so we don't have teaching assistants. These are all full-time faculty dedicated to your success. We do have both military and civilian faculty, about a 50-50 split. So all of our military instructors do at least have a master's, and our civilian instructors all have a PhD. And again, they are there for you to help you succeed in that class and outside of the classroom. So for the military instructors, your calculus instructor could be a jet pilot. And if you're interested in aviation, you get to ask them about calculus, you get to ask them about their career. So it's really wonderful to kind of have that 2-for-1 deal with your instructors. Additionally, a lot of our student body participates, of course, in athletics and a lot of different extracurricular activities. They understand sometimes you have to miss class to play a sport, to have a performance, so they're able to help you make up any missed material. I was in the Glee Club when I was at the Naval Academy, so I would have performances every so often where I had to miss. They would make sure I was able to get caught back up, and if my performance was on the yard, a lot of times they would come watch me perform. So it's really great to have that close contact with the faculty members. Next slide, please. So the Naval Academy is a Division I varsity school. We are NCAA sanctioned. We have 26 Division I varsity sports. All of our sports compete in the Patriot League with the exception of football, which is doing really well this year, and they are in the American League. We also have club and intramural sports available at the Naval Academy. So everyone at the Naval Academy is an athlete on some level. So varsity, club, intramural, we are all athletes there. Next slide, please. Now, it is the goal of the Naval Academy to send as many people abroad as possible on an international experience training. And this could take a few different forms. It could be a week spent abroad over spring break or over winter break. It could be a month in the summer. It could even be a whole semester spent studying abroad at a foreign civilian university or military institute. When I was at the Naval Academy, I was a cyber operations major, and I went to England for 4 weeks. In the summer, we got to see their military and government cyber operations. We got to tour one of their destroyers. We got to see 4 different cities across the UK. So really, really, really wonderful experience. And it's all paid for by the Navy. You just need a few, extra dollars for some souvenirs to bring back. But besides that, this is all paid for you to go travel abroad. Next slide, please. Parents, the top bullet point is for you. So all midshipmen receive a full scholarship to the Naval Academy. Full really does mean full, so tuition, room and board, medical and dental are all paid for. Students, the bottom point is for you. You get paid while you are a student at the Naval Academy. So as a monthly stipend, you get about $200 a month as a freshman, going upwards of $500 a month as a senior. Next slide, please. So summers at the Naval Academy are a bit different than what you might see at a civilian institute. That's not to say they are not fun. They are some of the most fun times I've ever had in my life. But before you get to those fun stuff, you do have to go through Plebe Summer. So Plebe Summer is our version of a boot camp. It's a 50-day indoctrination program where we're taking high school students or college students or enlisted service members and transforming them into Naval Academy midshipmen. So we are teaching about military bearing, we're teaching about the history of the Navy and the Marine Corps, and we are getting you ready for academic day 1 when August arrives. Now after that, your summers are going to be split into 3 different blocks, each block being about a month long. You're always going to have a month of vacation if you want to go home, if you want to take a trip somewhere, or if you want to fill it with another training, that's up to you, but you will always have a month for yourself. Now the second block is going to be a professional development training, what we call a fleet cruise. So a fleet cruise is like an internship with the military. So you're going out into operational forces and seeing what the day-to-day life of our sailors and Marines are like. So going into your youngster year, your 3rd class summer, you're going to do something called ProTrMid, Professional Training for Midshipmen, where you're spending 4 weeks each week with a different community. So one with aviation, Marine Corps, submarines, and surface warfare, getting a broad exposure to the main warfare communities that we commission into. Going into your 2nd class summer, you'll do a day in the life of Fleet Sailors Cruise, where you will be one-on-one paired up with an enlisted service member, shadowing them, seeing what their lives are like. And then finally, as a 1st class, you will be doing an officer experience cruise. So on this one, you'll be paired up with an officer, going through their day-to-day lives and kind of solidifying the expectations of the community that you hope to join. So if you want to join an aviation squadron, you can go with an aviation squadron, go with their pilots and naval flight officers, pair up with them and see, is this something I want to do? So that when service assignment comes, which is where you select what you will be doing in the Navy, you have a good understanding of the community you want to join. On top of our fleet cruises, we have leadership development trainings. So these can take a few forms. It could be taking a sailboat or a yard patrol craft, which you see in the bottom right there, up the eastern seaboard. So groups of about 20 midshipmen plan and execute a trip up the east coast, stopping in a bunch of ports along the way, practicing their seamanship and navigation skills. We also have different leadership detail opportunities. So we have summer programs for our high school students. Those are led by current midshipmen. We also have plebe summer. That's led also by current midshipmen. So they are in charge of training the plebes as they come through that program. Finally, we have foreign exchange cruises. So again, you get to travel abroad for 4 weeks and a lot of different internships available across the country. Next slide, please. Okay, so upon graduating from the Naval Academy, you graduate with a Bachelor of Science and commission as an officer into the Navy or the Marine Corps, and you're required to serve at least 5 years active duty. Next slide, please. Now this is the Class of 2023 service assignment. So this is what the Class of 2023 was assigned when they put in their preferences. Service assignment happens at the end of November every year, and this is what our Class of 2023 ended up with. Next slide, please. Okay, so our application is completely independent. We're not on the Common App. We're all totally online on our Naval Academy website, and we have 11 different checklist items to get through. I don't remember them all off the top of my head, so I'm going to have to turn around. So personal statement, that one's pretty self-explanatory. Candidate fitness assessment, so we want to test your physical fitness abilities. Let's see. Candidate activities record. This is for you to tell us about your extracurriculars. It's not the time to be humble. It's the time to really brag about yourself. Tell us everything you're doing. Your candidate academic information will have things like your class rank, GPA, and information about your school as well. We do require 2 letters of rec from your math and your English teacher from your previous or current year. So if you're a senior, we're going to require it either from your junior or your senior year instructor. We'll look at your transcript from high school and college. We do require SAT or ACT scores. We'll super score, so we'll take the highest math and highest verbal. We'll do a blue and gold officer interview, which I believe we have a blue and gold officer here to discuss that. And then we have a medical exam and the nomination process, which I will cover in a bit more detail. But kind of looking at our timeline, junior year is really the first time you're going to start working on your application. Hopefully apply to summer seminar. That's our program for rising seniors. Opening the application and working on it all the way through January 31st, which is our application deadline. Although I encourage you to try to get it in as soon as you can while still being diligent about it. Next slide, please. Yep, so this is our candidate fitness assessment. As you can see, 6 different portions. It does have to be administered by specific people. So unfortunately, you can't grab your mom and dad to administer this. It does have to be one of the listed people. Next slide, please. So we do require a medical exam with DODMERB, the Department of Defense Medical Examination Review Board. You are entering the military by coming to a service academy, so we want to make sure you're medically qualified. So once you've made sufficient progress on your application, you'll be contacted by them to schedule your appointments. Each service academy does have different accession standards, so you might do one appointment, but if you're applying here in West Point and Air Force, they all have different standards they are testing for, so you might have different qualification levels at each one. We do have a waiver process that is initiated if we think you're a competitive candidate. That is initiated again by the Office of Admissions, so not by the candidate, not by DODMERB. We will initiate that process. Next slide, please. So a nomination is part of the requirement to come to the Naval Academy. It is not an acceptance, but it is part of it's required to get an acceptance. So it's like an endorsement from an official representative. So most people are eligible for at least 4. So 2 state senators, their local congressmen, and the vice president. So I know a majority of people here are from DC. So with that, you are eligible for your DC delegate and the vice president. For all of these, the best place to get information on them is to go directly to their website, and they will have their own application information to receive that nomination. So it kind of runs concurrent to the Naval Academy application itself. Next slide, please. In addition to our congressional nominations, we also have service-connected nominations. So we have our presidential nomination for students whose parents have served a career in the armed forces and are now earning retired pay. It's also eligible for students whose parents are currently active duty and are having served for at least 8 years or the equivalent in the reserves. We have our ROTC and JROTC nomination for Navy and Marine Corps units, or if you're a HUD unit, an honor unit. Our nomination for the children of deceased or disabled veterans, POWs, MIAs, children of Medal of Honor recipients, and then our Navy and Marine Corps nomination is for our enlisted service members. So for all of these, the way to apply is to go onto our website. Those all have a January 31st deadline. If you are eligible for them, you will receive that nomination. But I like to say just apply to as many as you're eligible for. It doesn't hurt to kind of keep all your options open. So those ones do have a January 31st deadline. The ones, the congressional ones, might have an earlier deadline. Again, that is dependent on the office. Next slide, please. All right, kind of wrapping this up. A few pieces of advice. As I've said before, we're a STEM school, so try to have a strong foundation in STEM. Calculus, chemistry, and physics are some big ones we want to see on transcripts because that's required as a freshman at the Naval Academy. So if we can see you've taken them in high school and succeeded, then we know that you are set up for success at the Naval Academy. We don't have a minimum GPA, but like anything, just strive to do your best. Take your SAT and ACT as early and often, as many times as you'd like. Again, we'll super score, so we'll take your best overall math and verbal. We encourage high-level courses if they are within your reach, right? We don't want to see high-level courses where you're getting D's and F's. We want to see high-level courses that you are able to succeed in. And finally, we want to see well-rounded students. Our mission is to develop midshipmen morally, mentally, and physically. Okay, we don't want to just see academic scholars that are not really succeeding, with the athletics. We want to see people that are well-balanced across multiple areas and also involved in different extracurricular activities. Next slide, please. And that is all from me. Again, my name is Maya Weiss. I have Second Lieutenant Sabrina Sokol in the back, another one of your admissions counselors. We'll be around for the rest of the evening if you have any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ensign Weiss. At this time, we'd like to turn over to Lieutenant Colonel, retired, Ralph Featherstone. And you may have noticed a typo in the agenda. And if you noticed it, I'm interested. Did anybody see that there was a typo? It wasn't really a typo. I was in the class of 2000, so I planted it. Just letting you know. Thank you for joining us tonight, Ralph.
Thanks, Kate. So thank you. I will try to be brief, and I'll be outside after hanging out for questions. So as Kate said, my name is Ralph Featherstone, class of 1999, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Marine Corps, retired. Like you, I grew up here in Washington, D.C. I'm a product of D.C. public schools, so I went to Jefferson Junior High and Benjamin Banneker Senior High School and got my commission through Eleanor Holmes Norton, and I am currently on her board to give nominations to aspiring students like yourselves. So take a deep breath. I know some of you are uncertain, a little bit nervous. Relax, enjoy the process, enjoy the ride. Some are here because mom and dad dragged you down here, and mom and dad, some of you guys are here because your aspiring midshipman drug you here, and I was the latter. I think my mom held her breath for 24 years and finally let out a sigh of relief at my retirement ceremony. So I get it. I understand. As Ensign Weiss mentioned, we have processes that go on simultaneously with the school. Our job to recommend to the Congresswoman is on nominations, not just to the Naval Academy, but to all the schools. But with that, our deadline is a little bit earlier than the school. So Congresswoman Norton's deadline is 1 November for her applications. And you can go to the website and you'll get an application there. Application is a few pages, it's about 20 pages, but in that 20 pages is about 8 or 9 personal questions, and you just answer in essay format. There is a personal essay, all the things that you need for the school, your GPA, your SAT, ACT scores, and letters of recommendation. For a nomination application, you'll need 1 letter of recommendation from either a math or science teacher. That's your first one. Your second letter of recommendation comes from either a PE or English teacher, and then your third letter of recommendation can come from anyone, community member, coach, or anything of that sort. In our application process, one of the things that lends to success is an applicant that communicates interest in service. So what does that mean? Hey, have you applied to ROTC scholarships, or are you just focused on one school? Have you gone to the schools? Have you visited? Like Ensign Weiss put up the timeline to plead for a summer seminar and things like that. Each service academy has that, but a similar version. Have you attended those? Have you applied? Have you been in contact with a blue and gold officer? These types of things communicate interest, and it's important also for you, maybe that you're following in mom or dad or grandma or granddad's footsteps, but we like to see that it may go a little bit past that, and you have your personal interest as well. So our deadline, I said, is November 1st for the application itself to be turned in. And after that, what happens is we review those applications for about a month. And they get divvied out to our team, and then we do interviews early December, either the first or second week of December. It usually floats not to interfere with the Army-Navy game. Gotta have priorities. So we got to keep that Saturday clear. But no, it's a Saturday, either the first or second Saturday of December, and you'll be interviewed by a panel of 3 to 4 people, and they'll come from different backgrounds, meaning Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Army, or Merchant Marine. Coast Guard no longer needs a nomination, so we service the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, West Point, and Merchant Marine Academies. So after that interview in December, you can expect a decision to be made usually that day. After we get done with all the interviews, we go in our war room and we wrestle and fight for who we think deserves the nominations. And then in January, late January, sometimes it bleeds into the first week of February, the Congresswoman will release those nominations, and you'll get notification in the mail that you received a nom or that you did not. Her limitations. So she has 10 noms that can be filled at one school at any time. So she can recommend 10 noms a year. However, she can only have 5 seats at a school, I should say. So there are years where we're full at, let's say, Air Force, and that happened to us last year. And so I would recommend, if you want to serve, you may have to be a little flexible. Your heart may be set on one school or another, but there may be an opportunity at another school based upon the field that you're competing against and where the people the year before. We try not to ever have that happen. It was a weird, just one-off where we were stuck in that position. So one of the downsides of being in DC is you don't have senatorial representation. So as Ensign Weiss recommended, if you're eligible for vice presidential or presidential nominations, use that as well. If you're an athlete, there are some avenues for you that may be open for you as well. If not, get your application in early, spend some time on it though, but be judicious and get it in early. And I think that is all I have for you. And I'll be available at the end for questions, and don't be shy. Like I said, product of DC, DCPS, I sat in your shoes a few years ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday, so thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. Now I would like to turn the mic over to Commander Steve Williams, who will present the Blue and Gold Officer perspective for the evening. Thank you.
So everybody, I have my standard joke. Did I disappear behind this podium? Because podiums and I are not friends. In order to record this, do I need to talk to the microphone for the recording? Because I'm loud. I can carry. That's okay. Hey guys, I'm Captain Steve Williams, 1985 graduate, so a little bit after the Admiral, but I did my 30 years captain, started out as SWO, switched to Navy Special Operations, which on the board now is EOD Warfare. I'd like to introduce two more blue and gold officers from Area 0, Captain Marty Martinez, and Commander Chris Valle. Okay, so normally I don't do this by notes, but I'm getting old. So I want to make sure I tell you what we're about. A blue and gold officer is a field representative for the admissions office. Field representative for the admissions office. Our primary mission is marketing. I happen to be, where Area 0 is Northern Virginia. There's an area coordinator who is selected by the dean to represent the academy in each of the areas. I'm a deputy area coordinator for Northern Virginia, and I do all of the outreach. So I want you to understand one of our most important missions as blue and gold officers is to find you, to come to you and to get you information. The other most important thing that you need to understand is we have 3 missions as blue and gold officers to work with the candidates. I'll call them mentoring, guidance, and advice. Mentoring, guidance, and advice. Let's jump to the interview, and then I'll cover why that's important. Yes, we are the interview. It is mandatory, but that is important for you because we may be the only face of the admissions office that sees you. For a lot of your parents who might have served, an interview is an advocacy process. So anyone who served, whoever served on a promotion board. Promotion boards in the Navy, probably the fairest thing in the history of anything I've ever been a part of. You can never bring up negative information. You talk to what's in the record, but you speak good or well of whomever you brief in the tank. When we interview you, we're not looking for anything bad. We are an advocate. We are someone who's going to represent your best qualities to the board. But let me keep this very upfront with you. We're very fair. I have been a blue and gold officer for 30 years, and I still follow the script, right down the letter and what they've given me. Why? Because it's fair. Now, I can make it easy for you. The first question is, and always has been and will be for the next 30 years, why do you want to go to the Naval Academy? And if you stumble on those questions, we're there to help you through that process to understand. But you've heard before, we're looking for a lot of things. We evaluate on 6 criteria, and after the talk, I'm happy to talk to you about that. The next big thing I want to talk to you about is when do you contact your blue and gold officer? A lot of you folks have heard junior year, and that's when you're starting to apply to the academy. Hopefully you apply to summer seminar in January. That's for rising seniors. And that's when the Naval Academy Admissions Office starts to know who you are. That's when they start their record on you. Hopefully you understand that blue and gold officers are assigned to every high school. I'm in Northern Virginia. It's consistent across the country, assigned to every high school. And normally your college and career center, your counselor should know who your blue and gold officer is. When do you contact your blue and gold officer? So I've done this for 30 years because it's one of the most gratifying things I've ever done. I have met with young people as young as 13 years old, 7th grade, started mentoring them through the process all the way to graduation. That's the youngest. Had one person I mentored at 12. She was a 6th grader and probably the most articulate 6th grader I ever met at a college fair. But she decided she got a better offer her senior year and went somewhere full scholarship to some Ivy League school. I don't know how we lost her, but I think they were paying all the things and she was just an outstanding candidate. So you meet your blue and gold officer, you make contact as early as you possibly can, even as early as the middle schools. Let me answer a question that may be on your mind. What if your blue and gold officer doesn't want to meet with you? What if your blue and gold officer says, well, I'll start talking to you your junior year? So the thing about a blue and gold officer is we are trained by the Naval Academy on site to a standard, okay? We are all trained to the same standard. That means all blue and gold officers are proficient and good at their job. Some blue and gold officers, however, have more time and the ability to commit more to working with their candidates. In Northern Virginia, if you are not a junior, if you're a sophomore, whatever, freshman, you can contact our area coordinator, Jim Ripley, and get his number. It's online. Wait for you Virginia people, I'm going to drop a phone number on you. You can contact your area coordinator. He will contact someone, a blue and gold officer, to reach out to you no matter where you are in that cycle, or he'll handle it himself. Okay, next and last question, because I don't want to go too long. You're probably wondering, well, what if I just don't meld with my blue and gold officer? What if I just don't get the right vibe, even though this is an advocacy type of program? Here's my advice. You have admissions counselors, 2 are in the back. They may not see you, the blue and gold officer does, but the admissions counselor is a person advising you through the process. If you're not vibing with your blue and gold officer, contact your admissions counselor. Please do that. If you're in Area 0, Northern Virginia, contact the area coordinator. It doesn't mean that your blue and gold officer is not at a standard. However, if you seek to be reassigned, if you need a blue and gold officer you can vibe with better, very frequently you'll get me. I don't know if that's a good thing. We do it a long time. But we will reassign you. We want to ensure that you are getting the best we can provide, and we're the best face of the Naval Academy. Last thing I want to say, because I didn't go too long, I think. I'm doing well. I will be here as late as you want, except at 20:30. That's 8:30 for you who have not taken the oath. I have to go buy a nutcracker in the ship's store. Because my sister collects nutcrackers, Admiral, and you got brand new nutcrackers, and they are awesome. So at 20:30, I do have to purchase that nutcracker. So let me do a quick review. Blue and gold officers, we're the only face that of the Naval Academy who might see you. We're an advocacy interview. The interview can take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. We follow a script. There are 6 components of that script. Meet with your blue and gold officer as early as you can. That is my advice. If your blue and gold officer only wants to work with you starting your junior year, that is possible. Once you apply to something called summer seminar when you're a rising senior, that may be the case. The Naval Academy is looking at you at that point, as well as if you're an underclass, you apply to summer STEM programs. If you're in Northern Virginia, speaking for a fact, no matter where you are, you can always find the area coordinators' contact information, email, online. Those of you in Northern Virginia, my name is Captain Steve Williams. Now you can write it down or put it in your phone. Captain Steve Williams. I'm the Deputy Area Coordinator for Outreach. My cell number is 703-953-4215. That is my cell. If you cannot find a blue and gold officer, if you don't know who your blue and gold officer is, text me first, because I don't answer if I don't know who you are, and I will help you. That is a promise. If you are a very young person, do not contact me without a parent knowing you're doing so, okay? Everybody hear me on that? Make sure your parents know, but I will help you. Okay, so we're going to be in the back. We're happy to answer questions. I think I've covered the things that I wanted to talk about blue and gold. Hopefully there are no mysteries behind that. And please come to one of the 3 of us in the back, and we're happy to answer any questions you have and give you any advice we can. Thank you very much.
I know that I'm a Marine. You now know that I'm a Marine, but I have never really been an early person, and we are aggressively on schedule. So we have plenty of time for questions. So we can answer questions we'll take them for about 10 minutes in here, and then we can move into the entryway, and you can peruse the memorial some more and ask some one-on-one questions to the subject matter experts that are here this evening. I will ask Ensign Weiss and Lieutenant Sokol to come on down, and I'm assuming a lot of the questions will be related to the admissions process. We have a couple of microphones that we can carry so that we can pick up your question because we are recording this event so that your question may help others. Are there any questions?
Test. How do you get a summer session? Summer seminar.
So we have a few summer programs for high school students. So first we have summer STEM. Summer STEM is for rising 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. You can apply to that. That application will open in January. There's not too much to the application. We'll ask for your personal statement if you've taken like the PSAT, things like that. But the application will close in, I believe, April. So it's going to open in January, so you still have time to apply for that. And then we have summer seminar. So summer seminar is for our rising seniors. So summer STEM is focused solely on STEM experimentation in our labs and classrooms. But summer seminar, it has that STEM component, but also has some physical fitness, some leadership, team building. And it's just supposed to kind of emulate what life at the Naval Academy is like, so you can see if it would be a good fit for you. So hopefully you can walk away and see, can I spend 4 years here as a Naval Academy midshipman? That one will also open in January. So both of those applications are yet to be opened for this next summer. Does that answer your question?
How about the athletic camps?
Yes, so we do have athletic camps. Those are not through the Naval Academy Admissions Office. To apply for those, you can go to navysports.com. I am not familiar with those totally, again, because they don't come through the admissions office. But we have, what sports do we have? Baseball, basketball, track, crew. Yeah.
Almost all of them have.
All the sports camps you could want.
Any more questions?
Good evening. So I saw your list in the application process, step 1, and then right about here's the DODMERB. So up to that point, if you know you have something like a food allergy, which may be a disqualifier, and then knowing that the admissions is the final delimiter for getting into the academy, do you still recommend going through that whole process knowing that there could be a disqualification and then going through the waiver process, depending on, like you said, on the need? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, so I would certainly recommend finishing your application. Every application is going to be looked at regardless of the medical status, so your application could be looked at before the medical exam comes in. So we want to see everyone's application, and there's not just a certain list of what's qualifying, what's disqualifying. It's very case by case and determined by people that are way smarter than I am, so they make those decisions. And then yes, we do have the waiver process. Some of the things are super simple. Might just be, a little clarifying information. It might also be like another exam. It's so case by case, it's hard to tell. But I don't want that to discourage, I don't want anyone to be discouraged from finishing their application if they have, some type of allergy or whatever it may be. Because you never know until you try. It could not be an issue. It could be an issue here or not at West Point, Air Force, so you just don't know. So I would definitely encourage you to do the application and finish it to completion. Yes, sir.
If I might add, a lot of times the medical questions are first broached to the blue and gold officer. It's very important you understand that we are not authorized to speak with you about medical issues. That's between you, the candidate, the parents, and the medical professional. We'll talk to the admissions counselors, but here's the advice that every blue and gold officer should give you. Continue the application. Do not disqualify yourself. Applying to college can be one of the first adult decisions a young person gets to make. You're going to go through life and you're going to have many failures. Trust me, Plebe Summer is designed to teach you how to deal with failures. So if you've never had one before that, they guarantee you will. But in life, sometimes you're going to get a no. You should not be the person who's giving yourself that no. Do people hear me? So there are a lot of different criteria that the military will or will not waive. Do not make that determination yourself. What the blue and gold officer will do is we'll give you contact information for DODMERB, the Department of Defense Medical Evaluation Review Board. Then we're going to call the admissions counselors as you get really late in the process, because we work for them. They're going to give us guidance, and there is someone, in the admissions office, because this happens a lot, who works with the medical part of the application. That is the one aspect that is not due by 31 January. Okay? Does everybody hear me? Your medical may not even be completed until up to I-Day. And I don't want to take your steam, but I just am asked these questions so frequently. Do not attempt to share with your blue and gold officer any medical condition, because we're not authorized to speak to it, but we will get you in touch with DODMERB. Okay, so please ask us more questions in the back if you have it. Thank you, Ensign, if you have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, please, because it comes up to blue and gold a lot.
It does come up a lot. Just one more thing, too. The DoD Medical Evaluation Review Board.
Give the microphone so it's recording.
I'm also a lecturing guy.
Yeah.
The job of the
DOT-MERB is to evaluate your condition and interpret that as being their job is to find stuff that's wrong with you. Okay? Everybody's got stuff that's wrong with them, particularly if you're an athlete. Okay? But their job is to present the evidence, but not make a judgment. So if you get a letter that says not qualified from DOT-MERB, that's not a judgment letter. And please don't be discouraged about that. I've had candidates that thought that was the end of the line and went off to Stanford, right? The Naval Academy makes the judgments on waivers and acceptability, okay? DOT-MERB is only there to gather data, okay? Thank you.
I have two questions. At the Ivy League schools, they put a big emphasis on pre-med students who want to be doctors. If you want to be a doctor, but you really want to go to the Naval Academy, what sort of expectations should you have about how the Naval Academy will be friendly to that or possibly even help you? And that's my first question.
Okay, so we do commission officers to become Navy doctors every year. So the typical pathway to do that is to study chemistry at the Naval Academy, and then just like any other college student, hoping to go to medical school, take the MCATs, and we do have board members at the Naval Academy that are helping them get through that and to get accepted to become Navy doctors. So I will say it is very limited, so about 10 to 15 students every year are accepted to do that course. Out of a class of about 1,100, so it is quite limited. And chemistry isn't the only way. That's just the way that it typically happens, just because it's the closest we have to an undergrad medical degree. But if you are selected to become a Navy doctor, you can either go to the Navy's medical school or the military medical school in Bethesda, or if you're accepted to another medical school across the country, you can go there, and that will be paid for by the Navy. But the trade-off is always with free school comes more service. So you would be serving quite a bit longer in the Navy as a doctor in that capacity. I don't know anything about post-Navy, I'm sure you can continue your practice. I don't know exactly how that translates into the civilian workforce. Maybe anyone has an answer. Yes, sir.
So I have a class of 14 graduate. He became a SWO like me. And he did about 7 years on probably the best guided missile destroyer in Japan. Then decided he wanted to become a Navy doctor. So he ended up going back. He was an engineering major, did some school at night, but got into the Uniformed Services Health College, which is at Walter Reed. And so he just finished his second year of med school. So there's both ways of coming in and going directly into medicine. There's others where you might see a little bit of the fleet, which frankly is a great broadening experience, and it certainly was for him. And now he's going to be a Navy doctor. So there are paths to do that as well, if that helps.
You can also major in math.
You can also major in math, according to Sir.
I have a question. So you mentioned the summer seminar. And my question is, I'm assuming that a lot of people might want to do that over the summer. I'm assuming that might be a very competitive thing. How would you recommend to qualify for summer seminar? What extracurricular things, what would you want to keep track of to make sure you make that?
Yeah, so it definitely is a competitive program. And I'll start by saying, just like the Naval Academy, we do have to turn down qualified applicants, and that's just because we have less spots than people are applying, but I would definitely focus on, it's not the most extensive application. Personal statement is really where you're going to come across with why you want to come to the Naval Academy or to the summer seminar program. And then you can talk to, say, your blue and gold officer as well. They might have some more input on that, and the admissions counselors. We want to see people that can really benefit from the experience. Maybe they haven't visited the Naval Academy, and they want to come and experience what life is like on campus. But just do, when you say extracurriculars, I don't like to tell people you should do this extracurricular, because you should do what you like to do. But just try to do things to the highest level possible, right? You don't want to be doing an extracurricular that you have to drag yourself there every day. But if you really like to, play football or whatever you might like to do, just try to do that to the highest level. If you can become a team captain or like a manager, things like that. That's really ways to set yourself apart. So just do what you're passionate about, but to the highest level you can. And then again, personal statement, you can take your PSAT or ACT. It's not required for the summer seminar application, but it could be a good data point for us to look at on there.
But not, I know now you're never going to invite the Admiral to come to another one of these. But could you talk to them a little bit? It's not a showstopper if they don't get summer seminar.
You want to talk about that?
Yes, sir. I'm living proof. If you do not get into summer seminar, you can still attend the Naval Academy. But one of the things that I'll add, because this program isn't really talked about, it's not necessarily something you apply for, but we offer candidate visit weekends, and that's where I got my opportunity to actually visit the academy and shadow midshipmen. So after this, if you come out to our table, we have a QR code that'll add you to our email list. It'll give you the opportunity of weekends that this program is offered. It's 3 days. The high schooler will show up on Thursday, and then they are dropped off. They get to shadow a midshipman. They'll go to the classes. They'll get meals with them. They will sleep in Bancroft Hall. And during that time, they'll also get to take the candidate fitness assessment. We actually just had a candidate visit weekend, and we both ran the candidate fitness assessment and went very well. And then the parents will come and pick them up on Saturday. But that is what ended up making me fall in love with the Naval Academy. I was walking around with my midshipmen to classes, and I was looking left and right, and I was like, yeah, I want to look cool in these uniforms. But yeah, so again, if you don't get into summer seminar or summer STEM, those programs are only for your benefit to like get to immerse yourselves in, is this what I can see myself doing like for the rest of my life? So it's for your benefit.
Like the lieutenant said, candidate visit weekends are also exceptional opportunities. One of the things a lot of candidates don't know is your blue and gold officer has the ability to advocate for you. We don't select you. We refer you to the admissions counselors. So that's why I am encouraging you to get to know that blue and gold officer early, particularly if you're a junior, well, of course, if you're junior, if you're a sophomore or freshman. Like the Admiral said, it's not a showstopper. There's a lot of things that we will put out. A lot of folks I'm from California originally, and we can get folks back in the 1800s to come from California to the academy. They might have gotten invited, but from Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland, maybe not so many. Sometimes it's used for recruiting, sometimes it's used to get interest. But if you've missed that opportunity, talk to that blue and gold officer. We can advocate for you. We will talk to the counselors. If they have a seat and we can give a strong enough rationale, meaning we've met with you, then they may be able to find a seat for you. And in my experience, these counselors will do their best to give you that opportunity.
Good evening. Just curious, what percentage of midshipmen do accept their commission into the Marine Corps? And the second question, is there a scenario, or has there been a recent scenario where a midshipman may have accepted a commission outside of the Marine Corps or the Navy, say to go to the Army or Coast Guard or Air Force?
Yes, sir. So as far as each class here, the typical percentage that end up going into Marine Air as well as Marine Ground and Cyber just opened up, it's going to be about 25% of your class are going to be selected. And then from there, going into the other services that you can select, it is not very common, but we actually have a classmate who ended up graduating from the academy but cross-commissioned into the Air Force. I don't know why, but yes, it is an option. I will say, I think at most probably 5 people or so in your class can have the opportunity to like cross-commission into, I think Space Force is an option, Coast Guard, Air Force, and Army are all options that you can cross-commission into. Yeah.
Hi, so I was wondering, when you make the decision of whether you want to be in the Marines or the Navy, and then once you make that decision, how do you decide what rate you would want to do after graduation for your service?
When you say rate, do you mean like the specific job you have? Okay, so as far as service selection goes, when you become a senior at the Naval Academy, as soon as you come back to school in August, you're going to be sent a form asking you to put preferences as to your first and so on choices as to what you want to service select. So I'll give you an example of what I experienced. So I was disqualified from aviation. There were complications with my eyes, which was fine. I knew I wanted to be a Marine anyway. So my order was Marine Corps ground, and then I put SWO, submarine, and then SWO nuke. But for other people, aviation might be an option. So you'll put your preferences in, and then you will have review boards based off of your first and second choice. So you will meet with individuals in that specific community, and then they'll ask you questions about why do you want to go into the specific community, what is it that you want to accomplish, and stuff to that effect. So they also look into those things. And then eventually in November, like Ensign Weiss said, you will find out what specific service selection you get. There's a huge ceremony that's going to be in what's called your wardroom. It's kind of just like a community room that everyone can use. It has like kitchen, supplies, TV, etc. So you'll have a little ceremony. Everyone finds out what service selection they get. And then going on from there into next semester, you're going to take a class what's called practicum. So that specific class is going to have to do with the community you're in. So I was in Marine Corps practicum, and in that class, it was basically there to help me prepare for TBS. So I took a class on land nav, learning about the 5-paragraph order, my favorite, and then other stuff to prepare me for what I will experience at TBS. So then, as far as choosing the specific job or MOS, military occupational specialty you want, as far as Marine Corps goes, once you go through TBS, again, it's very competitive. You get ranked on like how well you do in specific things, and it's based off of your order of merit that you put in your preferences. Again, you can choose from a variety of different MOSs, and then you will get the MOS that is in your top 15 choices. As far as the naval communities go, I know for SWOs, when you go through BDOC, I don't exactly know how the selection process goes, but you will, I think, be assigned a specific area on the ship. Like my friend, for example, just graduated and he was put in the communications division, so he's in charge of that now. But you could be in charge of damage control, the navigation department, and stuff to that effect. And then for submarines, again, you go through power school, and then the specific job you just find out when you get on your submarine. If you want to talk about aviation.
Yeah, so in general, when you're at the Naval Academy though, everything is the same up until your senior year, and that's when you select Navy or Marine Corps. She talked about the different pathways with Marine Corps, SWO, certain subs. For aviation, you go down to flight school, which is about 2 to 3 years to get your wings of gold to become a fully qualified naval aviator. And about, I don't know, maybe the halfway point in that is where you'll select what platform you're going to fly, so jets, helicopters, big wing, things like that. And then eventually you'll select where you will be stationed, so where your next duty station will be. I haven't obviously gotten there yet. I'm heading down to flight school in a couple months, but really at the Naval Academy, we're primarily focused on getting you to that next training, and from there, you know, big Navy's going to take over, make sure you're assigned where you need to go.
Thank you, everyone, for these thoughtful questions. We are going to transition into closing out this formal portion of the evening, and we'll go into one-on-one questions. So you can grab any one of us, and we will do our best to answer, or we'll grab one of these fine officers who do have all of the answers, quite literally. And as for the Marine Corps, you tell them what you want, they tell you what you get. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and what you might find is that the Marine Corps has been doing this for a while. They kind of know where you might fit well. So even though supply officer might not have been your first choice, it might be a really good place for you to go. And there's a lot of opportunities after you graduate for graduate school and other things. You know, we talked extensively about medical school and other things, not for Marines, sorry. but but there's a lot of opportunities out there. So to close us off for the evening, I'm going to turn it back over to Captain Calandra to close us out and transition to the lobby, where please hang around and ask us some questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. The first thing I need to do is do like a little administrative job here. Could you do me a favor and raise your hand if you are a resident, if you are a student, not the adult, the student, who is a resident of Virginia? Just raise your hand. Okay, we got some Virginians there. How about Maryland? Okay, a few Maryland. How about District of Columbia? Okay, appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, I just have a few things to close this out with. And it's a little bit about my own experience with the Naval Academy. So, first of all, I'd like to say, no, if somebody tells you no, that's a challenge. If the medical community says, no, you can't be a midshipman, no, that's a challenge. You got to go challenge that, and you got to fight for it. If somebody else says, you don't have the grades for that, just tell them no. You don't know you don't have the grades. Don't tell yourself no, okay? If you do get to I-Day, and you're not at the Naval Academy, well, then you got to have to think of an alternative plan. I applied to the Naval Academy to be in the class of 1987. I was told that I wasn't going to be in the class of 1987, but maybe I should go to school for another year and reapply, and that's what I did. And I became a graduate of the class of 1988. And my congressman stood in front of me and says, I'm not giving you a nomination because with your academic record, you're not going to make it through. I want you to go to another year of school, and then we'll talk about it again. And that's exactly what I did. Now, fortunately, I was accepted into what's called the foundation program. So every year, the admissions team gets a small amount of records of applicants that didn't quite make it, and they throw it over the fence to this organization called the foundation. And they select out of that how many candidates that the Naval Academy wants to add through the foundation program, and you get either a partial scholarship or a full scholarship to a civilian prep school. So there's all these options. I would have gotten into the Navy come hell or high water. My son applied to be the class of 27, and he was not accepted. And he ran out and got himself an ROTC scholarship because all he wants to do is be in the Navy. So if you don't make it, your first time and you don't have the grades to make it the second time, if you did make it the first time and you did make it the second time, but you still want to be a naval officer, find another path. There's other paths. There's ROTC, there's officer candidate school after you get your own degree. I will tell you why I'm pushing so hard for this. I was in the Navy for 30 years. I never worked a day of my life. It was the greatest career a person could have. And it's the best opportunity that I think the country can offer you. So thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate it. If you got friends out there that are interested too, encourage them to come to or to attend our spring virtual event. Thank you very much for coming. And thank you. How about a round of applause for all our speakers? And that's it. Thanks.